Hello, Hi Kindergarten parents. This is Mrs. Farrell, and I am coming to you with a couple tips for writing with your child. Now, I have a slideshow presentation that is going to be on the learning plan just below this video. So if you click on that slideshow, it'll go through everything and even more than what I'm talking about tonight. And all of the links to what I'm about to show you are on that slideshow as well. So let's get started. So when we go to write with our kids, there's kind of a before writing, a during writing, and after writing. So before writing, the first thing you want to do is you want to get your child set up with some resources to help them out. Now, we have a link to the resource card, the word wall, digraphs and blends for those of your kids who are at that point. And we also have a letter chart. And these things are going to help your child just have a visual and make life a little bit easier when they're writing. So out of the two, I would suggest the letter resource card. And if you don't have a printer or you don't have the capability of pulling up on your phone the word wall, just use your kid's sight words bag. All the sight words in there that they know are resources, and you can always keep sticky notes or a scrap piece of paper by you. So the next thing we're going to talk about is after we get set up for writing, you want to give your child a choice. Do they want to write first or do they want to draw first? If they're having a difficult time coming up with their sentence, go ahead and point them in the direction of trying to draw first, because our very first strategy is labeling the picture. This is an example of my daughter's work, and what you do is when they're labeling the picture, you can help them come up with some of the words they might be using in their sentence, and then you can go ahead and get them to stretch out those words, write it down. If you don't want to draw on your picture, use a sticky note, and then that way you can kind of stick it or scrap piece of paper, and then they've got that right in front of them. So when they go to write, you've already solved how to stretch out that word, and it's just going to make it a little bit easier for them in the writing process. The next strategy is to give a word bank. So last week we were talking a lot about spring, and we were talking about eggs this week. So one of the things I did was just a little word bank. Notice that on some of the easier words like sun, maybe even grass, ones that they can stretch and sound out on their own, I did not write the spelling. I chose to do words that were more difficult, like rainbow or cloud, words that I knew that they did not understand or know what the spelling patterns were, that they still might use in their sentence. So word bank is a great strategy. It's not, going to do anything but just help your child with that frustration piece for words that are unknown. Moving forward on our slideshow, there's a slide that talks about drawing lines. And that would be just for those kids that two-finger space is still a challenge. They're working on it, and you don't want them to have to kind of go back and rewrite it. So that's going to be just for those kids that haven't mastered two-finger space. If they've already got two-finger space, just skip it and move on. Okay, now we're in the during writing phase. So remember, your child needs wiggle time. They might need a snack. Writing can be a lot. So if they do a picture, let them have a little break and then come back to it. You're just gonna have, fresh eyes. If they're feeling frustrated, you don't wanna go into writing frustrated because it just does take a lot of, mental energy. And if they're already kind of, feeling that, just distract them, have them do something else, and then come back when they're ready, or when you have given them a short break. So stretching is something that we do in kindergarten with our Letterland program. And so we pretend that we have like a rubber band, and basically we put the rubber band around our hands and we actually stretch it out. So if I was doing the word sun, I would, I could say it slow, sun, so they can hear each sound. And then I could also stretch the sounds out for them. S, This is something that they can do on their own. Tell me the sounds in the word sun, and then have them say it for you. When they're going to writing, you say that sound. S. Okay, write the letter that makes that sound. S. Okay, what's the next letter? S. Okay. S. And then they would write it that way. That's stretching it out. One of the things that we use in kindergarten quite often are sound boxes. And I just wanted to show you this example. So if I were to stretch out the word beach, I would have 3 sounds, b, e, ch. Now, depending on where your child is at, most of the kids by now can get that initial sound, but they haven't learned the long vowel sounds yet. So I would just say, you know, the sounds in beach are, tell me the first sound, okay, b, e. I hear that E. They might write E all on their own, or you could just tell them that EA. Beach is one of those examples where B, E, ch, they still hear that E. It's okay if that A is not there. They don't have to spell it correctly. It's what they hear. Sound spelling is something that they're relying on as their strategy for getting words written down on paper. And then the last part of this word in the word beach is that digraph CH. Now, if they know what their digraphs are and they're having a hard time remembering, you know, you can use that digraph and blend chart, or you can just say, you know, CH makes the ch sound as in chin, and then they can write it. So you kind of adjust to where your child's level is. And if it's too difficult, you can provide the sound, or you can just skip it. You know, if your child doesn't know what digraphs are yet and they get to ch, well, if you're looking at the alphabet, there's not one letter that makes that ch sound, so just tell them to skip it and move on. We want to minimize frustration. Okay, so moving on. After writing, a lot of times parents are asking us, you know, how much do we make them fix? Do they have to erase and fix everything? You know, what is it that they need to do? And so the rule of thumb is we like to think of 2 stars and 1 wish to make it better. And you have to decide, you know, it's taken how much time to get to this after part. You know, when they're done, sometimes they're done. Good writers, you know, sometimes they'll leave it and then they'll come back to it. So the 2 stars and a wish is just on the slideshow. It's kind of like a hierarchy of what's the most important skill, and you kind of go from there. So the first would be starting a sentence with an uppercase letter. If I was giving a star or saying what a star is, I don't want to just say, oh, you did a great job. I want to be specific. I like the way that you started your sentence with 1 uppercase and all the rest lowercase. That way you know that your child knows exactly what they did correct, and you want them to keep doing it. So then the second star would move to 2-finger space, because after, you know, we always start our sentence with an uppercase, and then the next most important thing would be the spacing between words. So again, if they're not doing that finger spacing, you can do that underlining strategy for 1 line would represent each word that will be in the sentence. After the 2-finger space, we do highly encourage, if it's a sight word that they know and can recognize, that, you know, they use that resource card if they spell it. If not, just grab a little sheet of paper and just write that down. If you know they know that word, it's just like us, we have spell check. So if, you know, if we can recognize it and we can read it, we can copy it and write it. And that's a Miss Farrell thing. So I think the other kindergarten teachers would agree with me on that one. I hope so. So after we do the 2-finger space, then we want to look at punctuation. And then we always talk to them, you know, how do you want your sentence to sound? Is it a period? I like school. Or is it like a question? I like school. Or is it like, I hope they say this, especially now, an exclamation point. I like school. So they're gonna know the difference between what those things are. It's just, can they remember to get it? So that would be the next in our list. Neat handwriting is something that we always encourage. However, it takes so much energy for them to just get it down. And if you think about you as a writer, sometimes you just need to write stuff down so you don't forget what you're saying, or you don't forget how to spell it. In their case, it's the same. So we encourage the neat handwriting, but we can always go back and fix it. It's something that, you know, sometimes it's connected and then sometimes it's separate. It depends on your child and where they're at with their writing. In this example with my daughter, you know, one of the things that she was having a difficult time was her Y's were up in the sky, and I wanted to bring them back down to the worm line. So they were going way down to the worm line instead of looking like they were uppercase. So all I did was I went with my pencil and just underlined that Y. Now she, was at a place at being in first grade where it was not a big deal for her to go back and fix it. But if it's overwhelming for your child to go back and fix it, then just skip it. And then the last thing would be sparkle words. If your child's got all of the above, then try working on stretching out the sentences, not just the words. Add, a little describing word, something to make it more exciting. Was it just on the table, or was it on, the brown table? You could do something more exciting than that example, but just thinking off the top of my head, those are some great tips. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your child's teacher. We appreciate all you're doing, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And don't forget to click on that link below so you can grab all those great resources to help you at home. Aloha, friends. Have a good day.